This is a video I'm excited to make because I have two very different opinions on the subject, but I stand by both of those different opinions. So without further ado, let's just dive right into it.
So I wanted to come on here and talk about something that is really starting to annoy me. So I applied for a job at TJ Maxx a few weeks ago and they denied my application. They couldn't even call me. They just sent me some automated email. So I went in today and I was like, so what was the reason I didn't get hired? And she was like, oh, like, you just, like, don't have enough experience. There was candidates that had, like, more experience.
I just want to be really clear before I dive into this discussion that I like tattoos. I have a tattoo myself. And with that being said, I really quite literally don't give a shit about what somebody decides to get tattooed on their body, but it is going to be there for life. And if you're doing all types of body modifications, you shouldn't expect certain companies to just hire you right off the rip. I feel like it's very important to take into consideration the body modifications and the amount of tattoos, especially certain tattoos that you get. Because companies, especially like TJ Maxx, where you're probably going to be working in customer service or out on the floor around the group of people who shop there, it could be a bad look for the company if you're sporting a Baphomet tattoo. And again, I don't even want to get into like religion, but if you're sporting a Baphomet tattoo, a lot of people is going to relate that to Satan. And a lot of people nowadays, Satanism is just like not a big accepted religion in this country, and I really don't give a shit what you decide to worship. But just like how you have the right to tattoo your body with whatever you want to tattoo on it and express yourself, that company has a right to not hire you based off of the fact that they choose the employees who work through their companies basically to represent their companies, and they're not going to want to push a certain image, especially to the mass group of people. It would take one person coming into that store to take a photo of her with her Baphomet tattoo and be like, oh, look what Target's pushing, or oh, look what TJ Maxx is pushing. Because the internet's the internet. And again, I just want to be clear. I'm not dogging her tattoos. I'm not saying you can't have a tattoo of a Baphomet, and I'm not saying you can't believe in certain things. You can believe in whatever y'all want to believe in and get whatever tattoo that y'all want to get. But at the end of the day, I'm just saying, if you're deciding to make certain body modifications based off of your personal preference, you can't expect that company to hire you based on your own personal preference whenever their personal preference is probably not hiring something that could turn into a problem for them later down the line. I will say this, though, this is something that bothers the shit out of me, is that there's so many movements now for groups to be accepted. Everybody wants to be accepted. Everybody wants a community. Everybody wants to feel safe going out in public and not be judged based off of their appearance or their personal preferences or what they want to identify as. It really bothers me that there's all these movements for all these acceptances within certain groups and communities, but people with tattoos are still getting the shit end of the stick, the very short end of the stick, and they're still being discriminated based off of how many tattoos that they have or the type of tattoo that they have. I think that's very annoying, and I think the next movement should be accept people with damn tattoos.
And, you know, I asked her if it was about my tattoos, obviously, because I know a lot of places don't like tattoos. She said that wasn't the reason. I don't feel like that's true, but whatever, I'll leave it at that.
Missy Ma'am is doing a little bit of a contradiction, because while she's saying that they didn't hire her based on she didn't have enough experience, which probably was the case, but also the tattoos could have played into the role of that. But if she did submit an online application, I don't know if they would have seen that she even had tattoos unless it's like in her profile photo. I don't know, y'all. I really don't know the situation. But she's saying that she thinks it's discrimination against her tattoos, while she's also saying in the same sentence that the business was just saying, oh, you didn't have enough experience. We had other applicants who had more experience than you. I don't know.
So I'm just wondering how, like, teenagers and young adults who haven't had a job before, how are they supposed to get employed if these places are only hiring people with experience?
I'm not gonna lie. I know a lot of people have to start from like the bottom of the barrel when it comes to jobs just to get experience, just so they can work their way up. And then whenever they do present their resume to companies, they're like, look, I might not have experience here, but I feel like I can be an asset to your company because I have experience in all these other fields. And I feel like that experience can play into me becoming a good employee for you guys. I understand some people really can't start with decent jobs, but I will say this. whenever my personal experience with this, at least, I moved out when I was 14. Whenever I turned 15, I decided, I really need a job, So I ended up going out and I applied for all these different companies. I didn't apply for like fast food places, but I applied for a lot of different companies, and I ended up becoming a secretary for a private company, and I got really good pay from that job, especially for my age. So I was stoked. But it took a lot of resumes being sent into companies, and a lot of my resumes, a lot of rejections, because a lot of the companies would say, hey, you just don't have enough experience to work here. And it's not just me, it's not just you, Missy ma'am, it's thousands and millions of people out there who get their resumes rejected based off of the fact that they just don't have the work experience or work history that companies want before you come into that business. This company that I ended up becoming a secretary for, I remember they wanted to reject me as well during my sit down, like face-to-face person interview, and I got a little bit feisty, and I was like, do you know how many times my resume has been rejected due to the fact that I don't have a work experience? I got I got so scared. I thought there was a bird in my house. I forgot I got my cat a little like chicken duck type toy, and it makes like little peeping sounds, and he just went after it and it started peeping, and that rustled my feathers. I know, it's not rustled your feathers, it's ruffled your feathers, but I like to take all these popular sayings and say them wrong because it pisses people off on the internet. Anyways, back to my story. I got feisty whenever they try to reject me, and I was like, okay, you could reject me and I could walk out of this company now, but I can give you 5 reasons why I can be an asset to your company and how I can make this bitch flourish. And I got hired that day.
Younger people just can't get a job because they haven't worked enough. So, like, they'll deny a 16-year-old a job because they don't have enough work experience. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Speaking of talking about things that don't make damn sense, let's talk about this. Let's not even talk about the job force coming into it as a teenager with little experience. Let's talk about actually going to college to get education about that job so that you can go into that profession and work a long and happy career with throughout your life with. Now, let's talk about the college. You pay out the ass to go and study for certain things so you can have a good career in life, just to get out of college and then apply for that career in different offices, different positions, just to not be hired, because even though you have knowledge and education on that job and how to appropriately perform that job, they're not going to hire you if you don't have experience already working in that company or in that field, especially if it is a really high up job. Say you want to be a doctor. Okay, you go to school, you have experience, whatever, but then when you go to the job, they're like, oh, but you haven't worked in a hospital, so we're going to be iffy about hiring you. I've seen it damn happen to people, especially people that I know personally who went to college, who as soon as they graduated, they failed to get into the thing that they studied for in school because they didn't have experience for the thing that they studied in college. I hope this makes sense.
I mean, I do okay with money as is, so I didn't need the job, but I would have liked it to have made some extra money so I could pay off my debt quicker. I want you guys to talk about in the comments what it's been like for you finding a job recently, like if it's been easy or if it's been difficult, and I want to know what kind of experience you guys have, because I want to see if I'm the only person that's experiencing this right now.
She's definitely not the only person who's experiencing this right now. It's hard to get a job, period, but then it's even harder to get a job whenever you have a lot of body modifications. And good on Missy ma'am for wanting to get a second job, wanting more income, wanting to do better for herself, and wanting to pay off that damn debt faster. But if she just needs a second job just for a little bit more income, and she feels like she's being discriminated for her body modifications, maybe she should find a field of work that they're not going to care what she has done to her body. Factory work, you're on the floor all day. It's private. They're not going to care what you look like as long as you're there doing your job and getting your shit done. An ink shop, go to your local tattoo parlor. I'm sure that they would hire you on the spot as a secretary because the amount of ink that you have, they're going to be like, oh, she's going to know how the booking works because she's obviously booked multiple times. Go to a piercing shop, a vape shop, I don't know, somewhere where there's a lot of people with the tattoos and the piercings, and it's more accepted in those job frames. And again, I'm not saying that she should be discriminated for the amount of tattoos or the tattoos that she does have, but you just have to think about the company as well. They're not going to look for a certain image, and sadly it is what it is. And I don't think she should be discriminated for her tattoos, but at the end of the day, sadly, the world is how it is when it comes to discrimination with people with tattoos and piercings. So she just has to keep that in mind, and especially with all the amount of body modifications that she had gotten done. Again, I'm just saying.
Wow, it's not even 7 a.m. I woke up and read the comments on my video, and I have a lot to say. You guys missed the point of that video entirely. I don't need that job at TJ Maxx. I make plenty of money. If I didn't make enough money, I would not be able to afford a Dodge Challenger that has a almost $500 monthly
What a
payment.
weird fucking flex to drop and announce the fact that you have a $500 payment on your Dodge Charger while being bummed that TJ Maxx didn't hire you. Let's just continue with the video.
I have thousands of dollars worth of artwork on my body. I have $7,000 breast implants, and I have about $3,000 of filler in my face. And it's crazy. It's like, you need to have money to do those things. I just wanted the job to make more money, because what's wrong with wanting to make more money? But, you know, I posted that video because I knew I was gonna get exactly those kind of reactions. And there's people saying, oh, it's because of your satanic tattoos. So if it is about my satanic tattoos, that's religious discrimination.
Yeah, I really don't know how to feel about the situation. I feel two different ways, and I feel strongly in both those different ways. But I want to get y'all's thoughts and opinions about this. When I seen the situation, y'all, literally everywhere, everybody was covering it. Even when I went to TikTok, it was on my For You page. I'm very curious to hear y'all's thoughts and opinions. So with that being said, I'll catch y'all in the next damn video.